Greetings, class. I just wanted to go over Module 2 with you really quickly. I won't do a video every single week, but most of the time, if I feel like you need to know something, I'm going to go ahead and do one. And then you can make the judgment call on whether or not you need to listen to all of it. For this one, I'm going to go over kind of how to look at things in modules and some of the stuff that I usually include. And I'm also going to give you some tips on the final paper, the narration paper. So you can see the overview of Module 2. I try to name it, the module name plus the overview. This particular module, you'll see the same assignment in Module 3. And so I think we're pretty much on target for the schedule this week. And occasionally there'll be an extra assignment or something in there that wasn't on the original schedule. So just make sure that you are paying close attention to the modules because that's where the most up-to-date information is going to be. So what you'll see in the module is kind of like why it matters this week, because some people see narrative writing as something that's not really needed in college, and it really is. It gets your brain going, helps you critically look at things to talk about. You have to think about, what am I going to write about? How am I going to approach it? You know, what's the lesson in it? That's one of the important parts of this, is sort of like what's the overall message here. So be thinking about that before you put pen to paper or fingers to keyboard, as it is these days. The module objectives are down here. Usually I have those in there. There's usually fewer, but narration covers quite a few things. So just please read through those so that you know kind of how narration is applied to college writing. And then in this module, I usually have this section as well. I say read all articles and other information provided, and then begin writing the narrative essay. So the narrative essay actually isn't due until September 8th, which is the week after this video is being created. So I just want to make you aware of that. That does not mean don't start early, because there's going to be other information in next week's module that you'll have to review and look over. So I want to make sure you get a head start on things. Let's talk about essay evaluations. I just want you to be aware that earning an A is not just about fulfilling the rubric requirements, which we'll look at in a minute. It's also about thinking beyond the assignment. So it really is, an A stands for exemplary work, where you're going above and sort of beyond that essay requirement. And so it goes beyond the basic requirements. It shows originality and deep understanding. So on this one, it's a little bit different because you're narrating something, but the deep understanding in this case would be like the message is clear, and that you are you are conveying the message through whatever it is you're writing about. So I just want to make sure that you understand how that applies in this case. It's clearly organized and well written. So if you decide to write on something creative rather than something personal, which is allowed in this, you just want to make sure that it's organized. So say if you have a time jump, which you really don't have time for that. That's funny, time for that. Anyway, so if you don't have time for that, don't write about it. But say you have, like, you go back in the past and then you come back to the future. The reader should always know what's going on. Just like if you're watching a film or a TV show, the reader should know what's going on, like what just happened. So make sure that it's organized in a way that we can understand it. So it contains minimal grammatical errors. I would offer to you 2 or 3 is really the max I'll accept for you to get an A on this. So double check everything. And again, narratives are slightly different in that sometimes you might use some dialogue, which is different. You're adding in stuff, and it might be slang or something like that. So it could be that the grammar of that is outside the rules of traditional grammar. Now, it does have to be applicable. You can't just write random grammar errors in there and expect an A, because they have to be logically put in, obviously. Expertly incorporates and documents sources. This essay does not require documentation of any sources. However, if you incorporate a source in some way, you do need a works cited page. It does not count in the word count either. So you'll see a word count on this one, and just make sure that you're aware of that. So A's and B's is really where I want you to live. So I'm not even going to go over the C, D, or F. But if you get a C or a D, which I don't expect it, make sure you read how these are assessed, how these are graded. So the B is where you meet the requirements. You just meet them. You show some originality and good organization. Maybe it could have been a little bit better organized or a little more original. It contains fewer grammar errors and properly document sources in the text and on the works cited page. So, and that's if it's needed. And so we're not going to go over the rest of those. You're welcome to look at the criteria. I hope that you'll shoot for an A, but if not, a B. And then try to stay away from those C's, D's, and F's. Pretty lenient on the first writing assignment in that, you're just now learning my style. It's also narrative, which is different than the traditional research stuff. So keep in mind that I don't want you to stress too much over it. I want you to have a little bit of fun with it, be creative, and sort of enjoy, if it can be enjoyed by non-writers. If you don't think that you enjoy writing, it might be harder to enjoy, but I'm hoping that you will, because I'm giving you some leeway on how you can handle this. So this information, most of these in each module will say something information or something information. And that is so important. Okay, so it gives you videos, it gives you articles, things that will help you. So I tell students, I know we're all busy, but most of the articles I give you are pretty short. Skimming some of those might be appropriate, and really thoroughly reading some of those is going to be important. It depends on your level of understanding of the topic. It also tells you these articles, most of the articles I provide you are my personal writing. I pull it in from outside so that students can use my information instead of giving you someone else's information they wrote and then asking you to do what I want you to do. I'm actually giving you information I wrote and asking you what I want to do, and they're going to coincide with each other a little bit better. So this first articles, it's hopefully going to help you. It gives the definition of an essay, a narrative essay. It gives you, these are particularly helpful, I think. The thesis, it tells you about the thesis, but then if you scroll down, it tells you what some thesis statements are, and you can see that they're not that difficult to write as you explore this. So again, my goal is not to stress you over writing your first paper. I really want you to be in a place of enjoyment as much as possible. And the example topics, I even gave you that. Now here what you'll see is that it says personal experience or story, but you are allowed to write a narrative that's creative. So you can write a story about a different world or whatever you want to do on this. I really am allowing you to have some leeway with that. It does have to be original to the class. It cannot be reused information from another class or from summer or anything like that. You can also generate some of your topics. And please look at the syllabus before you do this. It's the last section of the syllabus. I have some guidelines for AI generation, chat GPT type stuff. And if you don't know what that is, I'm not going to tell you. You'll have to go out and look for that yourself. But you can generate some topics and kind of bounce off that. So for this one, I think that you'll all be able to come up with your own story. It's really easier to do that than ask somebody else or some sort of AI to develop ideas for you. But I'm gonna say handle that however you need to. So this kind of gives you some information on what journey they took, or what message there is. So you learned a hard lesson, you overcame a personal obstacle, or a character did, or the day everything changed in your life or someone else's life, So these are just some examples. And then, of course, the conclusion, which we won't look at. But the next one is fundamental components of narrative structures. Now, this can be applied to TV shows, movies, narrative writing. But for you, it's really narrative writing. And it gives you some ideas of how to set the stage. So you do want a setting. It has to be at a place, right? It has to be happening somewhere. You want to build a little bit of tension. That would help you get that message along. And there's some examples in here. The climax is the turning point. So say you've been hopping along in your life and, everything's pretty mundane one day, and then suddenly something happens, right? So there's a build up to that something happening. Maybe you woke up, you spilled coffee in your lap, you burned yourself, you did all this stuff. And of course, it's like this domino effect that people think happens, and suddenly the point turns, something shifts. You see a homeless person and they're, freezing on the ground or something, that really is life changing to see. And it sort of switches your perspective, and this was actually a story a student wrote. It switches the perspective from, oh, pitiful, me, I'm having a bad day, to, that person is struggling. So things like that, like you can write deep stories. You will share, you may share these with the class. I haven't decided if we'll post those. I think we probably will on a discussion board to share. And also, here's an example. Let me get back. Climax example, falling action. That's sort of that, if that homeless person is on the ground, you're sort of thinking through. So what she did was she actually got some help for this person and ended up contacting the local shelter and some outreach programs to help the person that she saw. So that could be some of the falling action is finding out maybe why that person's homeless, or having someone else find it out and stuff like that. So anyway, you do have to have a resolution of your story, and this can be a pretty short narration. So you'll have to think in terms of, is this story too big for the paper? Is it too small? It probably won't be too small, but some people are short-winded and some people are long-winded. So, and how these elements contribute to a coherent story. So this just sort of puts it all together for you. I'm going to let you do the reading of that. And then example narrative essays, I do want to briefly touch on this. Excuse me. So this is from a different school, and I like this year. It's still a good essay, but I chose this one. It's free online to access. And if you look at this page right here in the middle, expository writing, you'll see writing narration, right? A close call, escape by, all that. And then using cool today and yesterday. So you can look at these essays and kind of see how different people have handled it. I have faith in the way you're going to handle it. If you have trouble coming up with a topic after the tools and stuff I told you about, do some free writing. That's like where you write and just, you start with something, and you just keep writing in a stream of consciousness. And usually if you'll do that for about 30 seconds and you come back to it, you'll find some keywords that kind of stand out to you, because your brain will help you solve your problem if you use it. So I hope that helps. People also do little outlines and brainstorming, writing things on paper and looking up stuff. So there are many ways that you can come up with a topic, and many ways that you can handle writing about it. So in terms of strict guidelines on this one, there's really not as many strict guidelines on this one as there will be. So the next thing I want you to look at is the narrative essay. I only have like a minute left in my timer. Here's the page. The rubric is here. It's going to, again, this is created by me, not somebody else. Always read down through the A, exemplary. It presents compelling, well-developed narrative. The thesis is clear. We talked about that. The essay's well organized. We talked about that. The language and style should be appropriate for us in the class. And of course, you want to use proper grammar and mechanics. We did touch on that, and use of narrative techniques. And so that one article about rising action, all that should help you a little bit. And then the grading scale is here. Shouldn't be a surprise. I hope that this video helped you. My goal is not to make your life miserable in this class, but to help you really think about things, and also to improve your writing over time. So I'm happy to have you in the class, and feel free to contact me. Email is the very best way. It's jackie.gibbons, GIBBONS @kctcs.edu. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful day.